Good evening, Bucknoters. Welcome into what we learned live following Ohio State's 24-10 win at Wisconsin tonight. A little too close for comfort, but you get at Wisconsin with a 14-point win. I'll take it every time. I predicted 27-10 Buckeyes. They win 24-10. I'll take that every time. We'll get into the good, the bad, and everything in between. I am Dave Biddle. Welcome into what we learned live. We're going to hear from Heath Schneider, a.k.a. Heater, in just a moment. We'll hear from Patrick Murphy and Steve Helwagen following post-game interviews at Camp Randall Stadium. But appreciate you guys joining me. There's a lot to dissect here. First of all, let's hope Lathan Ransom's okay. That didn't look good. That's the first thing that I'm worried about. Best thing is the Buckeyes emerged out of here with a 14-point victory or just a victory, period. Before we get too far, I do want to let you guys know, if you guys want to support the late, great D. Stanley and his foundation, get on Homage. They've got this great shirt, and it's supporting D. His foundation, the late, great Demetrius Stanley, who back in 1996, everybody remembers the Rose Bowl. Do you guys remember the 1996 Wisconsin game? True freshman Ron Dane coming in there. Wisconsin almost stole one until Demetrius Stanley scores a late touchdown to win the game for the Buckeyes. So shout out to the late, great D. Stanley, and get on Homage. And all proceeds from Demetrius' shirt goes to Homage. This is not a paid advertisement. I just want to give a shout out to the great D. Stanley. And thanks to Homage for doing this. All right. So, listen, Kyle McCord looked decent in the second half, looked good in the second half, did not look good in the first half. He's got to be better, but it's something with him. He steps up in the second half. So give him credit for that. Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player in college football. If he doesn't win the Heisman, I don't know what we're doing. People say all the time, Marvin Harrison Jr. is the best player in college football. You hear it all the time. Everybody says it, right? I've said this before, guys. We have an award for that. Best player in college football. Last time I checked, we have an award for that. So it's time he gets a little bit more love for the Heisman. It is starting to ramp up. Yeah, Joel Klatt starting to talk about it. The odds have gone up. If you got it at 35-1 last week, like we told you, good job, because it's already 18-1. Fitting. Marv's number is 18. I bet you before the end of the night, it's 10-1. Should be 2-1 at the most. Right now, J.J. McCarthy is your favorite to win the Heisman Trophy. So, starting to believe what Dan Rubin said. Whoever wins the Ohio State-Michigan game, presuming Marvin has a good game and J.J. has a good game, whoever wins that game, that'll be the Heisman Trophy winner, Marvin Harrison Jr. or J.J. McCarthy. Whoever wins that game, presuming that player has a good game. It doesn't even need to be a great game, good game. Marv's already at 900 receiving yards through 8 games. Unbelievable how good he is. And what's crazy is there's no Emeka Egbuka tonight again. He could have played, from what we understand. He could have played last week, too. They have him ready to go just in case they need to get, Jaden Ballard's been good field and punts. They just need to make sure Emeka's been ready to go. The fact that you don't even have Emeka and Marvin is still doing this, it's just amazing to me how good he is. Travion Henderson, I thought, did not look good early, and then he completely stepped up like a boss in the second half. Kudos to Travion Henderson. Offensive line was hit and miss. I thought there were some big-time holes. I thought overall the offensive line, you got to give Wisconsin credit. We're all hypercritical, myself included. You got to give Wisconsin some credit. But McCord's got to be better. He's got to be better. He leaves a lot to be desired. I'll put it that way. He's not bad. At times he looks bad. We're all he's bad. And then he's like, oh, that was a dime. Then he steps up and gets a first down on a run. Okay. Got hurt on the play, but I was like, that was huge. You got to be able to do that sometimes on third down, and he did it. A couple of QB sneaks in there. Good on Ryan Day for mixing that in. So at times you're watching McCord, you're like, what the hell? You're like, no, this can't happen. And then it's okay, all right, you do that, we're good. So it's a little in between. But the best thing about being 8-0 is going 9-0. And the best thing about Heath Schneider is he's about ready to come on the podcast. Heater, if you are ready, I'm going to bring you on, my friend. What's up, man?
My man, how you doing?
Well, apparently we've got the wrong colors in here, man. I'm doing good, man. What's your main takeaway? I predicted 27-10 Ohio State. They win 24-10. I can't be upset about that. If the Buckeyes would have won by barely like a field goal or something.
Yeah. Yeah, and it almost felt like it was going to come down to that as they came out and did the sandwich scoring at the half, right? And suddenly it's 10-10. You're like, I've felt this before. You talked all week. Don't sleep on this. Don't sleep on this game. It's up in Wisconsin. It's at night. I've stood on the sidelines for an entire Ohio State game up in Wisconsin. It is a tough place to play. And this, like you said, it's not a bad team. They're in a bad spot with their quarterback right now. But my main takeaway, great defense. This defense is championship caliber defense, and the quarterback play has to be better. It has to be better. We are 9 games into him as a starter, 8 games this year, right? And you've got to want more. He's inconsistent. At the end of it, you're going to look at it and you're going to see, oh, he was 17 of 26. He had 225 yards or 226 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had 3 turnovers. And when you sit there and think about quarterback play 9 games into your career, and I know we've been spoiled by the quarterback play over the last 4 quarterbacks at Ohio State, but you can't be in the situation where you have moments. You have to string together consistent play throughout, and that's not what you had happening at the beginning of the game. He missed 2 or 3 passes in the flat. He completely missed on a otherwise open Marvin Harrison, who I agree with is the best player in college football. And these are yards that are just given away. These are easy plays. A pass in the flat, it doesn't get much easier than a pass in the flat, a screenplay, etc. And he just whiffed on them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you nailed it. Defense is elite. This defense, especially this year, if it was a different year, maybe with 2019 LSU or 2019 Ohio State, put 2019 Ohio State on a different program or something, or 2020 Alabama, we saw them firsthand in the national championship game. There's not an elite team in college football this year is my point, Heater. And This defense, Ohio State's defense, with just a good offense, can win the national championship.
I agree. And part of that, though, is you need to have a guy who can manage through the game and, not to take Ravens ball from 2000 when they had that defense that was generationally great defense with the Ravens, and all they needed was a game manager. Very similar to what we had in 2002. We had a terrific defense. We needed a game manager there, and that's what you need. I don't need a superstar at my quarterback level at my quarterback. What I need is, with this level of defense, a quarterback that's going to come in and manage the game. I have receivers that can be stars on the other end of those balls that he's throwing, but they've got to be balls that those receivers can get to. And that too often that is not happening. And I put it in my immediately after the game analysis. Blast away at me if you want, but you need consistent play, and we got to move away from moments and into, hey, he had a great game, not great moments.
Are you worried about Lathan? Because I am. He's he has the wallet that has BMF on it, and I'm worried about him.
Yeah, 100%. I don't know what was the word that came down other than he was limping. I saw him coming back out, but
we'll hear from Patrick and Steve after interviews. Yeah. I'm sure Ryan's not going to say too much, but we'll hear the latest. Hopefully it's not too. He was at least able to walk on his own power. It doesn't look like it's a season ender. Just guessing. You never know, though. You never know.
Yeah, no, you never know, especially as you get less and less games on the back end, and it's how quickly do you come back. The other takeaway, and not to segue away from it, but yes, major takeaways. Travion Henderson came in and played like a boss. He had, I think he had over 200 yards from scrimmage. I think he had 40 plus yards receiving, 162 on the ground. and reminded everyone why he's RB1 in Columbus. You know, we had all this hemming and hawing over the last few weeks about, hey, why aren't they playing Dallin Hayden, and why is Mayan sitting back, and what's going on? Or why aren't we putting Chip ahead of this guy or that guy? And when healthy, he came in and he showed you why he's RB1.
He did. And I wasn't impressed early, though, Heater. I thought he was getting bounced back too often. Great running backs usually fall forward. And then he made me eat my words the entire second half, and I'm here for it. Like, Travion stepped up. He didn't play bad in the first half. Kyle played bad. Kyle played bad in the first half.
He did.
Like,
he did.
Articulated. Trey didn't play bad in the first half. He played okay, I thought. I thought he left a little bit to be desired. I was like, he needs to start breaking tackles.
Let's just say he had a little bit of rust.
He was breaking. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. He had rust. He missed 3 games. What did he do in the second half? He started breaking tackles, making plays. And again, he wasn't bad in the first half, but he was fantastic in the second half.
Oh yeah, and that 33-yard touchdown down the left side, he showed you a burst of speed that I had not seen from him in a while, to be honest with you. If you remember, didn't he have that like the first time he touched the ball, or first couple of times he touched the ball in his career, he had that 70-yarder that he broke off on like a screenplay, right, for a touchdown.
Minnesota.
Yeah. That's the kind of speed I saw on that 33-yarder, because he was running away from guys at the end of the play. It was beautiful to see. And, keep him healthy. And it's going to take a lot of pressure off McCord, because he's not a guy that McCord is not a guy that's going to put the team on his shoulders and say, ride me until the glory to Valhalla. It's going to be McCord has to manage the game. And when you have a good running game and you have those receivers on the other end, McCord can be serviceable for what you need.
Let me ask you this. So, obviously it ended up well for Kyle, and thank goodness he was able to get his confidence going, as he is wont to do in the second half. If Devin Brown was healthy, do you think Ryan Day might have turned to him at some point?
Okay, so you're saying he's not hurt at all, and he was good number 2, good to go.
It was this close. We know it was this close in camp. In fact, it was like Kyle's ahead, Devin's ahead, Kyle's ahead, and then Kyle ended up ahead. But it was like,
yeah, and you're talking about 3 turnovers in the first half, and you come out after the first possession after second half, and it's 10-10. If he doesn't come out and do something on that first possession, first possession in the second half, he might turn around and say, Devin, loosen up. Might look at him and say, loosen up. I don't know that. To be honest with you, though, I think that in that situation, you're probably seeing a situation that you don't want to see if that happens, right? This is all fictitious and it didn't happen. But you're creating controversy on a team that's ranked number 3, that's undefeated. And now what do you do if Devin Brown comes in and tears it up, right? And then suddenly it's, Joe Germain and Stanley Jackson back there trading off, and everybody's screaming, why is Jackson in this time when it should be Joe? And why is Joe in when it should be Stanley? That's a sticky wicket, man. It's a great question. Sticky wicket.
Yeah, no doubt about it. O-line, where are you at on the O-line? I saw some gaping holes. Obviously, Wisconsin was able to get some stuff done defensively, but overall, this O-line, they're coming together, my friend.
They are. I was very happy with the offensive line. 162 yards from your starting running back. We'll do that for you. But Travion did 2 things that I hadn't seen. Like he would wait for the hole when it wasn't there, or he would hit the hole in the second half, or he would hit the hole when it was there right away, and he didn't dilly-dally. And that decisiveness and that vision we haven't seen for a good bit. I think the offensive line is coming together. I was shocked to see who did they flash up on the screen that had the most penalties since 2022 with out of all the tackles in D1? He had just gotten called for a
I didn't see that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sure we got a ton of people thank you to everybody who's watching. We got a lot of people watching. Got like 1,000 people watching.
I'm a big draw.
So who was it? Simmons?
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
Simmons? Oh, Josh Simmons?
Yeah. He has 22 penalties.
Heater is kind of a big. Heater's apartment smells of rich mahogany.
I have many leather bound books.
Yes.
Yeah, he has 22 penalties since the start of last season. How?
I think you were talking about like a player from a different team. Yeah, Josh Simmons, our own Josh Simmons, Jimmy Simmons.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
What are you reading there? What do you got?
Just a lot of people, like 500 people have responded Simmons. It's still coming in because not everybody's like watching it live. Some people have a little bit of a delay. It's like it's still coming. If you can look at this, I don't know if you can see the comments, but it's like Simmons.
Oh yeah. There's
got
a
it.
chat button. I completely
got it, baby. We got it. Yeah, I mean, I think overall, I mean, you look at the grades. Josh Simmons actually, he started off so slow. He's been kind of a whipping boy. He's actually played pretty solid if you look at his PFF grades. But he's got to step it up. Ryan Day's doing his press conference right now. I can tell from looking at the local.
Can we talk a little bit about Ryan?
Let's talk about Ryan, please.
So that felt to me like that was one of the most vanilla and uninspired sets of play calling he has done since he became the head coach. As I was sitting there watching it, and I am by no means, I am not a guy that sits there and says, inside handoff, off tackle, blah, blah, blah. I watch the game and I take mental notes. Every one of those things, I felt like I was my own Connor Stallions. I was like, I know what that play is going to be before it's run. I see what's coming, and it just felt very uninspired to me. And maybe he's saying, oh, Kyle's not having a good game. I need to pull it back. I have Travion back. I can run him. How many times did he run tonight? He ran a lot. 24, yeah. Yeah. 24 times for a guy that hasn't played in 3 games. That's a lot of toting the rock, and maybe he said, look, I got a running back that's back in action. I got my RB1. I'm gonna ride that guy and until we get across the goal line. But I just saw a very, very vanilla set of plays that we ran tonight.
This is still a 24-10. You're right. I mean, I was frustrated with how vanilla the play calling was. I know from Ryan Day's perspective, he's probably thinking there's no way this Wisconsin offense can move the ball against our defense. But you've got to be more aggressive than that. I get it to an extent, but I still want to be more aggressive than that. Be Ohio State. Take the fight to them. Don't be like, well, they can't move the ball against us. Although I did like him taking the points at times. There were times I thought maybe in the past he would have gone for it. He was at kicking field goals when he should have tonight. I know you're a fan of that.
Yes, I am. But I will tell you this. You made a great point. Hey, be Ohio State. When we had our first possession, we turned the ball over on down. Well, it wasn't on downs. He fumbled. That was his fumble from McCord. And then we got it right back. My immediate thought was go for the jugular and throw it long down the sidelines and let one of your stud wide receivers catch it. And the first play from scrimmage, I think, wound up being an inside handoff to Travion. And that's the Ryan Day that I miss. Ryan Day used to immediately, hey, I'm going to step on the neck of the enemy and I am just going to chop heads off figuratively and just demoralize them until they tap out. And this was, hey, I'm just going to, it's chilly out. So I don't, we got numb fingers. I'll just hand the ball off, That's not the Ryan Day I fell in love with in 2019.
Yeah, he did seem like a just natural born killer in 19, especially the way he just completely ravaged Michigan's coaching staff. That's back when we thought Al Washington was a good coach.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a good time, wasn't it?
No, I think Greg Madison actually was a good coach. Al Washington, it's no, not really. Not so much. Tim Walton, good coach. Perry Eliano, good coach. I love this secondary. I hate to harp on it. I just hope Lathan's okay. The good thing is they are deep enough. You could go with Proc and and just go with and not rotate. But man, Lathan Ransom, hopefully he's okay for the Michigan. I don't even care if he's okay for Rutgers or Michigan State or Minnesota. Just hopefully he's okay for November 25th, Heater.
Hey, by the way, no Cade Stover receptions tonight. I saw him in there. I know he was playing, but I don't even think he was targeted tonight.
Yeah, that's interesting because one of our prop bets, quote unquote, on the site was like combined receptions for tight ends, 5 for Ohio State's tight ends and Wisconsin's tight ends. I know G. Scott had 2.
Yeah,
let's check it out. I don't even know. Let's see. Let's see how many tight end. Like, yeah, I would have bet anything that like it would have been like over 5 receptions combined. Yeah, you're right. G had 2. Nothing for Cade Stover. Cade Stover came in as one of the top tight ends in the nation. He even was added to the Bolitnikoff Award list. People are like, that's for the best wide receiver, right? They consider it the best pass catcher, so they'll put tight ends on there as well. But, yeah, that's interesting. You look at Marvin, 6 catches, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns, just adds to his greatness. Really no other receivers really involved, man. I mean, Julian Fleming, 2 catches, 19 yards. Carnell Tate, 1 catch, 14 yards, and that's it. Other than Marvin, you had 3 catches for wide receivers. They really need a Mecca back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They really, really need a Mecca back. I think I mentioned it to you maybe last week or a couple weeks ago that, like Julian Fleming always leaves me wanting more. Like he came in with tremendous amount of hype and he feels like our Kenyon Rambo for modern days. Like here's this 5-star, he's coming in, he's all of that and a bag of chips. And then suddenly he's like, you're just, wait, I want more than 2 catches a game for 25 yards. I want to see Marvin kind of numbers. This is a 5-star that had so much hype. And so I need a Mecca back so that Marvin we can get some of the heat off Marvin. And, he's always going to have extra attention because he's Marvin, right? But at least you could take some of that and say, okay, if you're going to commit 2 guys here, then I'm going to have double E wide open and we can keep moving that ball down the field. I just looked at the QB progression, not to go back to McCord, but McCord was 4 for his first 11 passes, so that's, I mean, when you're trying to set the tone in a game at the beginning of a game, you just can't do it with that kind of play, and 2 turnovers, the fumble and the interception. But we need to get a Mecca back. He's been available but not playing. And maybe now with the next couple of games, you sit there and say, okay, we'll see you in November, and at the end of a November, and maybe have a warm-up game before that, get him super healthy. I don't know.
We'll get you out here on this. Now, you can stay as long as you want. I've already kept you longer than, what I promised, but you can stay as long as you want, my friend. But I'm going to get you out on here on this, get your thoughts on this. So the college football playoff rankings, the first iteration of the 2023 college football playoff rankings come out later this week. Buckeyes number 1. Where are you at?
The Buckeyes are going to be number 1 or number 2. Going into this game, I thought they'd be number 1. You could make them number 2, but I think they carry number 1 coming out of this weekend as well. They've got the best resume. They have the best resume. They have the best defense in my mind. I know that the school up north is going to tell you that their defense is the best in the nation. Show me your resume where you have played somebody besides, the New Hope School for the Blind, and then we'll talk. Whether you are in the Desmond Howard realm where you say, I don't have a lot of faith in Notre Dame. Well, guess what? Notre Dame was a top 10 team. They're continuing to win. Penn State won again, although it was closer than it should have been. Penn State won again. There was 2 top 10 teams that we beat. And it just looks like the march towards the end of November is coming up, and it's going to be that showdown that we've seen so many times before. And what a story it's building up to be, because everything that's happened in the last week plus with Michigan, it just, right now, I'm putting them at number 1.
Yeah, it's going to be between them and Florida State. I think the Buckeyes will be number one. Notre
Yeah.
Dame, Penn State, quality wins. And listen, we're going to pick it apart. We have been picking it apart. People that view this from, unbiased perspective, will see Ohio State won at Wisconsin 24-10 in a game. Ohio State was favored by 14 points. It'll be like solid win.
Yeah.
You're more than solid. Great stuff as always from Heater. He is Heath
My
Schneider. Get on Bucknuts. You can read his immediately after the game. Recap, analysis. Thank you, Heater. I appreciate it, my man in Amsterdam.
Right. Much love, brother. Have a good one.
He is Heater. Great stuff out of Heater. Great man and great insights. Heater is he's a great guy. He's a great guy. Air Force guy. Now he's a civilian. He was in the Air Force for many, many a year. I believe 20. Heater, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You can text me. I believe like 20 years at least in the Air Force, and now he's able to do things like join me on the post-game show. So yeah, guys. I mean, like, is Kyle McCord? We have a lot of comments. Is Kyle McCord good enough for this team to win the national championship this year? He is with this defense. Now he's got to play better, but Ohio State won a national championship with Craig Krenzel. Now, Craig would step up and run the ball, as we all know, but, I do feel like obviously Kyle's got to be better. As Heater said, as I said, Kyle McCord has to be better for them to win the national championship. But can they win the national championship with Kyle McCord? Yes, they can, because this defense is elite, and there's not an elite team in college football. And you just cross another one off. Coming into the year, I thought there were 4 games that could be a hiccup. Notre Dame, Penn State, Wisconsin, Michigan. Boom. That leaves 1, my friends. That leaves 1. Justin on YouTube. What do I think about Desmond Howard putting Ohio State number 6? I don't give any thoughts to that dunce. No. Sean on YouTube. He says, I would take Krenzel over McCord. Yeah, I hear you. Krenzel won a national championship, so I hear you guys. Like, obviously, Krenzel in his toughness, I get it. I'm just saying, like, come on. Can the Buckeyes win a national championship with Kyle McCord? Yes, they can with this defense. But again, both things can be true. Like, he's got to be better. Marvin Harrison Jr., you got the best receiver, best player in college football. Offensive line continues to get better. Now you got a healthy Travion Henderson. Elite defense. Emeka is going to be back. He could have played tonight, to my understanding. He could have played. Mitch on YouTube. Biddle, do you see Carnell Tate's blocking doing a pretty good job for a true freshman? That's huge, because they were, without saying it, they were kind of saying that was one thing that was kind of holding him back. Not that he wasn't tough. We know he's tough. But it's an attitude with blocking, and you're seeing that now. I love that you brought that up. Carnell Tate out there. 1 reception tonight, but if he's able to block, Hartline's going to play him. Do you guys remember Hartline's redshirt freshman year at Iowa? That play where Gonzalez caught a touchdown and Hartline took out 2 Iowa defenders on the same play. Hartline will demand you block. He blocked. Skinny kid as a redshirt freshman. I'm like, is he even ready? He's out there knocking 2 Iowa guy, like a DB and a linebacker on the same play, springing Gonzalez for a touchdown. So you better believe Brian Hartline's going to make sure his guys block well. And that's the one thing Julian Fleming brings to the table. He's a really good blocker. But man, now Fleming's banged up. He struggles with his hands. He just is not consistent enough as a receiver. But Fleming will bring it as a blocker, but you can't be a wide receiver and have your best trait being blocking. You have to be good at receiving the football. And then if you're also a really good blocker, that's awesome. Like Evan Spencer, for example. No one ever thought he was had bad hands, but everybody knew he was a badass blocker. So hopefully Julian Fleming's okay. They need all the depth they can get, but getting a Mecca back will be huge. Yeah. TG Smith on YouTube saying Julian drops a lot of balls. Yeah. But I'm sure you guys are with me. I'm still glad he's on the team. I'm glad he's on the roster. He's a guy, he's talented. He's physical. Give me a guy like that anytime who's, he's at least going to stick his nose in there and get physical. Now there's a reason that he's not getting 5 targets a game or more. He's not consistent enough catching the ball, but I'll still take Julian Fleming on my football team. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Patrick Murphy live from Camp Randall Stadium. You are looking live at Camp Randall Stadium. Patrick, your takeaways from this Ohio State 24-10 win.
I think it's funny because we all kind of predicted this game, right? But then I think everyone sort of felt like it would be ugly and, closer than you probably want it to be as a Buckeye fan. And then it happens and you're frustrated and it's hard to watch. But again, you get out of here with a win. I think I hit exactly on my score prediction. So, look, this defense, I feel like we're saying the same things every week. This defense is just nasty. Yeah, they gave up the touchdown and at the start of the second half and whatnot, but they get the job done. You got to get something more consistent from Kyle McCord, no doubt about that. But this is the way this team's going to play, and it's not always going to look the way that Buckeye fans have kind of come to expect it. But you keep getting results. I do think getting some guys back. You saw it with Travion Henderson tonight. Coach Day said Emeka Egbuka, I think he said it on the broadcast too. Was really close, and they just held him out for one more week. So it sounds like he'll be back next week. I just asked Marvin Harrison what this offense looks like when everyone's back in there, and he said, the sky's the limit basically. And with the defense they have, they're a national championship team when they've got everybody playing. So it's rinse, wash, repeat with this team, and maybe it's not as sexy as some of the previous Ohio State teams, but they're getting the job done so far.
I love what you said because we did I didn't predict the score exactly right like you did. I was 27-10, so compared to you, I was way off, but I was kind of proud of my prediction until I realized that you picked it on the money. But you're completely right. We all kind of thought this would be roughly how it played out, and then it plays out that way. We're all like, well, what the hell? What's going on out here? It's by the way, it's not easy to win at Camp Randall Stadium at night. You win by 14. Again, I've been critical. I think I've been fair, but I've also been critical. But yeah, you nailed it. Nailed the score, and you nailed the attitude. This is what we expected. Let's not overanalyze this.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think there are reasons to be critical. There were reasons to be critical of Ohio State's 2014 team at times, right? And in 2002, there were reasons to be critical. So, it happens throughout the course of the season. And I think if you look around college football right now, there's no team that looks perfect, right? Every team you can point to and say, oh, this week or that week they did this. I know Georgia's kind of starting to get it together. Michigan has looked good but hasn't played anybody, and we know what's going on there. So I think Ohio State is very much in the mix of this thing. We got the playoff rankings coming out on Tuesday. I expect them to be firmly in the top 4, if not top 2, maybe. Resume-wise, you could certainly make an argument.
Listen, normally I'd be like, there's no way Ohio State's number 1. We had Lynn's Breezy, one of our longtime listeners and viewers, saying there's no way Ohio State's going to be number 1, and nor should they. I hear what she's saying. I hear what other people are saying, but who has a better resume than Ohio State? I don't know. Maybe Florida State. I don't know. Certainly not Michigan playing Sisters of the Poor.
Right.
I think it might be maybe Georgia just because they're the 2-time defending champ. I would bet Ohio State will be 2 at the worst.
Yeah. Look, we're going to have to learn about this committee and what they value and everything. But, it's a shame that the conversation is probably going to be all about Michigan when we talk to the committee chair after the rankings come out, because I do think there's a lot of questions about any team, like I said. And so there could be some really good answers if they choose to answer it. But you're right. It will be interesting to see kind of what they value and where that ranks the Buckeyes. But yeah, 2 top 10 wins. You've now won here against a team that had 5 wins at the time, was leading the Big Ten West. Maryland, when you played them, was playing pretty good football. I know they've fallen off now. Going to Notre Dame obviously was not easy, in addition to playing what still is a pretty good football team. So yeah, this team is firmly in the mix of things, and absolutely there are things that have to get better. I mentioned Kyle McCord. You can't have that first interception. The second interception, not good, but those things happen sometimes. Coach Day said sometimes when you push it down the field, guys make a play. He didn't see but the first one, come on, what are we doing there? You just can't have it. And he's infuriatingly inconsistent right now because you see where he could be when the throws are on and you have the moments. And, I've said this a couple times over the last week or so that, not every quarterback is going to be Dwayne Haskins, Justin Fields, CJ Stroud in year one. Ohio State has been really fortunate to have guys that have come in and been able to go right from the jump. But McCord is following a more traditional path where he's had some bumps in the road. But, you're now 8 games in, are we? 7 games in, whatever it is. You've got to start being more consistent if you're Kyle. He knows that. Coach Day knows that. And, I saw a lot of people looking for, a backup quarterback. They didn't really have much today. I don't think Coach Day's benching him anyway. I think he's going to let him, unless it gets, real bad. But, I think he's going to let him play through some of these struggles and try and come out the other side. But it's gotta be better. Other teams will punish you if you throw, interceptions like that and have some struggles like he did.
I'm sure Coach Day was going out of his way to give injury updates after the game.
Oh, of course.
I'm sure he just was telling all. But give me, what do you know? What are you hearing about Lathan Ransom? Looked like JT's okay, thank God, but Lathan didn't look good. What are you hearing about some of these injuries?
Yeah, I think JT just got the wind knocked out of him. We talked to Jack Sawyer, and it was brought up that Jack was the one who did it, and he just kind of laughed, and he was like, I got really scared for a minute. And so fortunately, that's not something you have to worry about. The Lathan one, Coach Day said he was like, I honestly don't know. There was a lot going on the sidelines, and I was never able to kind of follow up with that. He did, towards the end of the game, actually right where I'm standing here, come walking down from the tunnel, still limping and didn't have his helmet, but did come back out, so it's not something where he couldn't get back on the sidelines. It did take a while. Certainly not good if they need to, if he has to miss any time. But, they do, you probably have lost Jahad Carter for some time. We saw him on Wednesday before interviews. He was on crutches. So, that's a guy that could potentially play that position. You saw Cam Martinez struggle a good amount in the few plays he played today when they went into the dime defense. So definitely don't want to have a guy who's been playing some pretty good football this season out. But I hope we will get a more definitive update by Tuesday.
Get you out of here on this. The running game, I thought the O-line overall played well. Travion, I didn't think Travion looked. I mean, he wasn't bad in the first half. Some people are giving you a hard time. He wasn't bad in the first half. I just didn't think he was great, and then he was great in the second half. So give him credit. O-line, they got the job done against a solid Wisconsin defense.
Yeah, and there were some big holes, and that's good to see given what we've seen previously with this offensive line and some of the running game. I did the math. Travion accounted for 80% of the rushing attack, which is not a surprise given the number of carries he had, and almost 40% of the total offense. And I think if you throw Marvin there, you've pretty much got it all. It was good to have him back. He's not a perfect running back, but the big plays, and Coach Day said this, they can be game-changing. We saw it at Notre Dame. We've seen it throughout his career, right? The Penn State run a year ago. And then today, he has a few. I think he had a 25-yard run and a 30-something yard run, and then he breaks the one where he's breaking tackles and scores in the end zone right here towards the end. So this is what he does. And these are all pieces, right? This offense doesn't have, other than Marvin Harrison, doesn't have like one guy. And when everybody's healthy, he doesn't even have to be that guy because you've got a Mecca and you've got Cade Stover who had a very quiet night tonight. Travion is a piece of that puzzle. And when he's not out there, we've seen the last few weeks, the running game just it doesn't have that pop. And he gives it that. Certainly still, he runs into the back of guys. He dances too much sometimes. He's not perfect, but he can do things that those other guys can't do, which is important.
For our over-unders, man, I was confident about tight ends getting 5 receptions combined.
Yeah, right?
Scott got 2, but Stover got none. I would have lost a lot of money on that one.
Yeah, I don't know what the Wisconsin tight ends did. I wasn't keeping track of that, but we probably did not get that one right.
I don't think so. All right, get back to work, sir. Good stuff. I'm going to bring in Steve Helwagen. Thank you to Patrick Murphy.
All right, see you guys.
See you, Patrick. Great stuff. Let's bring in Steve Helwagen. Also, live from Camp Randall Stadium in Madison, Wisconsin, Steve Helwagen. Steve, talk about this win. This is their most convincing win over Wisconsin at Camp Randall since the year 2000.
Better.
I mean, it's hard to win at Camp Randall. Where are you at on this 24-10 win?
This is Dave. I think it's a tremendous victory, no question about it. I mean, this is what Big Ten football looks like, and I was impressed. I think with the overall. I mean, the defense played another lights out game, gave up one touchdown drive. Wisconsin was 6 of 18 on third and fourth down combined. Again, that's what it's supposed to look like when a guy making his second career start is playing against one of the top defenses in the country. That's what it's supposed to look like, what they just did to Wisconsin and Braden Locke. And that kid, he played his heart out, but, at this stage of his career, he's limited. And Ohio State took full advantage of that. And just an impressive showing. I thought, the game's tied 10-10 in the third quarter. And the Buckeyes came back, got defensive stops and a couple of touchdowns to give them the separation that they needed to win the game. So, to me, very impressive, I thought.
Steve, it's tough to beat Wisconsin. Do you remember the 96 game? It was at Ohio Stadium. Do you remember who scored the winning touchdown in the 96 game against Wisconsin?
Oh man. I don't.
Man, I don't know. Was it Demetrius Stanley maybe? Oh yeah,
it was.
Yeah.
It
was him. All right, where do you
Ron Dane was a freshman that year.
Ron Dane was a true freshman. They had a late lead, and
they put Orlando Pace in on the goal line. They put Orlando Pace in on the goal line on defense to stop him.
The late, great D. Stanley with the touchdown to win it, just like he did in the Rose Bowl. Well, he didn't win it. I mean, obviously David Boston's touchdown won it in the Rose Bowl, but D had a long touchdown in the Rose Bowl. Kyle McCord. Patrick referred to him as like infuriatingly inconsistent, something like that. It was a great phrase. I hope I'm not messing it up. But yeah, whatever you want to, like, adjective you want to use, like, he's inconsistent. He ends up getting the job done, but man, I mean, there's times in the first half I'm like, what are we doing here? Where are you at on McCord?
Yeah, I mean, he ended up 17 of 26 with 2 interceptions and 2 touchdowns, 226 yards. He always ends up right around whatever this is. Like
I know, right?
58, 59%. He's always right around there. I don't know what that adds up to, but
2 interceptions though tonight.
Yeah, 2 interceptions, and I'm telling you, the one to Tate in the end zone, he needs to throw that ball away. There's like 6 bodies down there. He's asking his guy to go make a play out of 6 people, and that made no sense. So that was ridiculous. The other one, the people here seem to think he never saw that defender because he was so laser focused, locked in on Marvin Harrison Jr. Maybe getting Emeka Egbuka back will be just what the doctor ordered for Kyle McCord, because now he doesn't have to have laser focus just on Marvin Harrison Jr. He can spread it around to some other people. But, Henderson, for everything he did tonight, he had 4 catches for 45 yards too. He was over 200 yards offense today, which is just a huge game. One of the best games he's played as a Buckeye. So, yeah, it all totaled, man, this was Big Ten Smash Mouth football. I mean, they were hitting. It was very physical. It wasn't easy by any means. And Wisconsin, if they had any more offense, which, they lose Braylon Allen at halftime, it's kind of like Marvin Harrison. He's been what's holding the whole team up. Then he goes out and, not much of a chance after that, although they did tie it, start the second half. But Buckeyes defense slammed the door. 6 3-and-outs, Dave, 6 3-and-outs.
This is an elite defense, Steve. Now, especially in a year like this, I keep saying, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm, drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak. But, like, I keep saying, like, there's not an elite team in college football this year. This defense, and Ohio State's offense doesn't suck. It's good. It's not great. It's not where we're used to. But this defense is elite. I keep thinking this defense is good enough to lead Ohio State to a national championship. I'm not saying it will. It's good enough to do it, though, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's good enough to get them in the discussion, and then you're going to have to go out and win those games in January, and you're going to need more than 14, 18, 20 points to do that. You're going to need to light up the scoreboard. And what is this, 20 points last week and 24 points this week? Not good, but 2-0, and, you're beating quality teams in my book. I mean, Wisconsin may see them again in Indianapolis if they're able to win their last 4 games. They now need some help. They need somebody to beat Iowa, but that doesn't seem unlikely to happen, obviously, because Iowa, goodness, they can't get a first down. So I would say Wisconsin's still in the thick of this thing to get to Indianapolis if they just win their last 4 games. And so you might see this team again, and maybe Allen will be healthy, but it'll be on that fast track.
Steve, I'll get you out here on this. I kept wondering, last week, even into this week, like, why is Marvin Harrison Jr. not getting more talk about the Heisman? And now you're seeing it pick up a little bit more. He was 18-1 coming into today. He was 35-1 to win the Heisman earlier in the week. I bet by tomorrow it'll be like 10-1 at the best. I mean, Marvin Harrison Jr., Steve, I keep hearing people say he's the best player in college football. He's the best player in college football. We have an award for that, Steve Helwagen.
It's called the Heisman Memorial Trophy, and I'm going to tell you something. That catch he made, in the end zone was as good as it gets. And when he made it, the people next to me are like, "No way!" The official took like a second, got real dramatic, and stood over there and went like this, and the whole stadium just erupted. I mean, what a play! Because the guy's got number 10 draped all over him. And he somehow hauled that in and got a foot down in bounds. As Coach Day said, that ball never moved. You know how he's had 2 touchdowns wiped away because the ball on his chest went like that. I have really mean things and bad words I want to say about the review official who takes a touchdown away when the ball goes like this.
I know. I hate that.
On somebody's stomach. I mean, if he's juggling it, going out of bounds or whatever, I can look at it and say that's a touchdown. I can look at it when he juggles it and say that's not a touchdown. All these plays Marvin Harrison's made should have been touchdowns. So, he finally got one that stood. So that's good. And they had to have it. My goodness, that was at a touch and go moment. That put them ahead 17-10. Then Travion, as was it your guy on the Bengals, coffin nails, he says, nails of the coffin, Lapham on the Bengals radio.
I was like, oh, Lapham. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
hey, good luck, Bengals and Browns on the West Coast tomorrow. You're going to need it. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, both playing at 4:00, 4:25, whatever. All right. We'll get you any parting thoughts before you get back to my friend.
Igbuka, he says, it was close, but they definitely hope he'll be back next week. Don't know about Lathan Ransom. He left in the second half with a leg injury of some sort appeared, and not sure entirely what's going on with him.
We got a Dave Lapham shout out on the podcast. I'm good. That's awesome. Oh, real quick, Michael on Facebook wants to know any update on McCord's ankle.
No, I think it's just, as Coach said, bumps and bruises. Getting knocked around a little bit. Could have happened when he ran it. They slide to protect themselves, but you also slide to injure your ankle on this field turf because it grabs and there's no give to it, a lot of times. So I don't know. You do or you don't, I suppose. But, could have happened at any point in this game. I mean, he was under some pretty good duress. What was that? What happened on the one where the first intentional grounding? It looked like Josh Fryer just let the guy come right off the end, right around him. I don't know. That was weird. But
Fryer had a couple. And I've talked up Fryer, but like he said, he had a couple of rough moments tonight for sure.
Yeah,
sure. And he's had a couple of rough moments like this year. So, but overall, I think this offensive line's coming together. They're not going to
8-0, 5-0 in the Big, tied with Michigan for the Big East lead, and now it's a 4-game race to the finish line. And who is number one? We're going to find out. And we're going down the stretch in the Big Ten, Dave, at Rutgers, back home, Michigan State and Minnesota, and then November 25th at Michigan. There you go.
Signs everywhere.
Where there's signs.
All right, buddy.
All right, Pard.
All right, man. Appreciate you
later.
joining me. Good stuff out of Steve Helwagen. Thank you, sir. Great hearing from Steve. Great hearing from Patrick. Great hearing from Heater. All right, guys, fire some questions my way. If you've already sent some questions in and I missed them, please repost them. I will get to what I can. I know there was a question about Lathan Ransom. We've talked about that a little bit. I mean, I would say we'll know more on Tuesday. We probably won't when we meet with Coach Dave. But, I will say it was good news that he went. At first, they said he was carted off. Then he was like walking back under his own power, definitely limping. Man, with a guy like Lathan, like it doesn't look like it's season ending, just guessing. With a guy like Lathan, just get him ready for Michigan. I mean, let's go. So I wish I had a better answer for you, but I will say that it didn't look terrible. It looked terrible at first, but then him coming back out under his own power, because as all you guys know, watching football, I'm sure many of you played football, but just being a football fan, like if a guy would had a season-ending injury, there's no way he would have just been walking out there, like nothing happened, even though he was limping. I shouldn't say nothing happened. He would have stayed in the locker room, or he would have been coming out in street clothes with, as we've all seen, a guy like on crutches or whatever. So we'll see. I hate to even speculate on injuries, but first blush looked like maybe Lathan escaped disaster there, and that's good because that kid's a badass. They need him. RM on YouTube saying Carson Hinsman struggled with the man across from him. I mean, Carson's a redshirt freshman. That had to be crazy for him being a kid from Wisconsin to be a freshman starting at Wisconsin. Listen, I mean, if he played perfect, I would have been shocked. I still can't believe that Luke Whippler turned pro early to be a 6th round pick after 3 years, third-year sophomore. But thank goodness for Carson Hinsman. He's been solid this year, which is more than you can ask for, in my opinion, from a redshirt freshman center. You're the quarterback of that O-line. My guy, Aaron Bain, one of the talk about a good football player. Aaron Bain was a hell of a football player. Aaron Bain saying Jack Sawyer still seems hesitant off the ball. He needs to embrace the Bosa Chase legacy and step up. Yeah, I mean, I think Jack Sawyer's playing better. But yeah, you don't see like that violence with the hands like you're talking about. The Bosas are just so different. And we didn't see that really out of Chase Young till his final year, his junior year. He was good as a sophomore. Chase Young had 8.5 sacks, I believe, as a sophomore. So he was good as a sophomore. Don't get me wrong. But then we saw Chase Young just take it to a different level as a junior. Jack's never going to be that, but I think he's been playing better. Overall, I think he's left a little bit to be desired, but I think Jack's playing better. He's got to finish the plays, man. He gets close and just doesn't finish the plays. JT's the guy, though, as far as the DNs. And Tyleik Williams continues to be just a wrecking crew in there. I absolutely love Tyleik Williams. Love him. Yeah, Bucknuts88 saying Cam Martinez got cooked again. Yeah, I almost feel bad for him. I mean, that was not an easy play on 3rd down. Receiver's coming right at you, kind of fakes inside and goes for the out. But, I mean, Cam wasn't even close, though. So I don't want to defend him too much. That was not good. Not good. Zach on Facebook, why no Stover targets? I don't know. That flummoxed me. I have no idea. If you would have told me G Scott and both were healthy, G got – and good for G. I'm so happy for G and G Senior. You guys know I love G Senior. He's been on the show before many times. Bucknuts Morning 5, I should say, not the post-game show. So I'm happy for G. But, yeah, man, I never would have guessed G would have had 2 receptions. Cade would have none. Mike on YouTube. Hero Canoe got a big play. Love it. You know what's crazy about that, Mike? I'm like watching. I'm like, what? 93, Hero Canoe's in the game. I even said it out loud. I'm like, Hero Canoe's in the game. And then Hero Canoe got a sack or tackle for a loss, whatever. I'm like, well, that was like right on cue. Hero right on Canoe. Stover did block well tonight. AA Ron Mark on Facebook. Yes. I mean, Stover did block well tonight. Stover missed some blocks last year and earlier this year. People are like, Stover's not a good blocker. It's like, just give him time. Because big part of blocking is toughness. And, you never have to worry about toughness with Cade Stover, but technique is also important. And now you're seeing Cade with the right technique. You never need to worry about toughness or strength with Cade Stover. I mean, we've talked about this before. If there was a battle royale on the team, everybody, one man survives, everybody else dies. Cade might be the last guy standing. I mean, JT might be in there, Mike Hall. Cade might be the last guy standing if you do that drill. Neil on YouTube saying, Dave, Stover is hurt with that brace on. Yeah, I'm sure he's banged up. He was banged up throughout last year too. Yeah, I'm sure he's banged up. Michael on Facebook, can we talk about that goal line stand? Man, that was sweet. That was sweet. I mean, this defense is elite. That wasn't even surprising to me. At one point when Ohio State got the 10-0 lead, I even said, I don't think Wisconsin can score 10. Wisconsin ended up scoring 10 because Ohio State's offense helped them out. But this defense is elite. Absolutely elite. So if this offense can just bring it up, this offense doesn't have to be elite. That'd be nice. It'd be good. We'd be okay with that. If this offense can just raise their level, you've got to raise your level at least a little bit. If the offense can raise their level and the defense can be elite, that is a national championship recipe, especially in the year 2023. Again, the rankings, the first iteration of the college football playoff rankings for this year is going to come out later this week, and I won't be surprised if Ohio State's number 1. They'll probably be number 2. I bet they'll give it to Georgia. I bet it'll be like Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Florida State 3, Michigan 4. You're saying Michigan 4? Yeah, nothing to do with like the cheating allegations. I don't think the committee is going to get involved with that. I really don't. For those that are wondering, well, they're going to leave Michigan out? Are they going to penalize them? I don't think the committee is going to get involved with that. Nor should they. That's on the Big Ten and the NCAA. Michigan's getting the hammer. The only question is when, my friend. The Michigan is getting the hammer laid down on them. There's no doubt about that. The only question is when. But I don't think the College Football Playoff Committee is going to get involved with that. But I do think they're going to put Michigan 4th because Michigan has the easiest schedule of any Power 5 team. Easiest schedule of any Power 5 team. So far, it doesn't end as easy for them. Not that Penn State is a world beater, but you got to go to Penn State in a couple weeks. Michigan does. Noon game. Kind of wish that was a night game, a whiteout game, but it's a noon game. Still, it won't be easy going to Penn State for Michigan. Signs everywhere, signs. And now Penn State knows like what's going on with that. It's going to be very interesting. If Michigan continues to blow everybody out, Michigan's going to say, see, it doesn't even matter. You guys are making too much out of this. If all of a sudden Michigan struggles, dare I say loses a couple games down the stretch, everybody's going to say, see, this is exactly that. That's the only reason they were even good the last couple of years. I'll be one saying that, by the way. I'll be right in front of that line. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens as far as on the field. Again, I have no doubt Michigan will get hammered by the NCAA/Big Ten, whatever. If I had to bet, probably not till after the season. After the Washington Post story, wouldn't shock me if something happened during the season. But if I had to bet, I will say nothing will happen until after the season. This will be Jim Harbaugh's last year at Michigan. They will get hammered, but nothing as far as any sanctions will happen until after the season. Frankly, I want Ohio State to play Michigan this year. I don't want to see Michigan's season get canceled or whatever. I want the game on November 25th. I want that. You should too. If you're a Buckeye fan, you should want that. In my opinion, shouldn't tell you what to do. I think you should want that. I want that. I hope you want that. I hope Lathan Ransom is not seriously hurt. We need Kyle McCord to play better. This is an elite defense. Marvin Harrison Jr. should be the front runner for the Heisman. Not in the contention for the Heisman. Not in contention. Should be the front runner for the Heisman. Travion Henderson stepped up in a big way. Kudos to Trey. O-line. People are, down on the O-line. I think overall the O-line played well tonight. Camp Randall is a tough place to play, especially at night. This was their Super Bowl. Good job by the Buckeyes. But yeah, no doubt Kyle McCord's got to play better. I don't get the sidearm stuff. Ryan Day handpicked him. And it looked like McCord had more of it not quite over the top. It didn't have quite a sidearm. It's like more of a, not quite sidearm. It's more of like 3/4. But he just gets, it's just not like a true, the mechanics just don't seem to be there. And I know because of the ankle is one of the reasons he's off his back foot a lot, but he doesn't step up in the pocket. He goes down too much of a sidearm, in my opinion. I don't know. Again, Ryan Day, is a quarterback guru, and he's done such a great job. And even look at McCord's stats. To pick him apart, we're spoiled for picking McCord apart. But still, though, he's got to be better. He's got to be able to step into his throws. Okay, to me, I need to see more over the top, not sidearm. You're not going to completely change your mechanics mid-season or anything like that. It's just I don't know, man. I just he's okay. He'll drop a dime and then he'll throw one at the knees of a receiver on a 4-yard screen pass or something like that. It's just he's got to be much better. He's so wildly inconsistent. He's a cool customer though. He doesn't seem to get rattled. He's definitely banged up. He was banged up coming into the game, for those who don't know. His ankle, even though he wasn't talking about it, why would he? His ankle was banged up coming into tonight, and that, to me, is what happened there. He dove for the first down. Great play. Third down, you have to do that as a quarterback. They don't do it enough, frankly. That was awesome. You have to do that. Third down, you get a cheap first down on 3rd and 9. Perfect. Dives for the first down. Guy kind of lands on his legs. Looked like he re-injured his ankle to me. Probably just, doesn't – probably nothing serious. Probably a pain management thing, but they've got to at least have the threat of the quarterback run. Because if you're a defensive coordinator, it's just gold for you right now. You just know Ohio State has no threat to run the quarterback. You're going to crash your DNs. You've got to have some threat of running the quarterback. So, but hopefully Kyle McCord's okay. And it sounds like if he had to leave the game, they would have put in Tristan Gebbia, the 7th-year senior. A lot of people are like, what about Lincoln Kienholz? Frankly, I think Lincoln Kienholz might be a little underrated. I think he, if you maybe, who knows? I mean, his high school competition was not good. There's no way to sugarcoat that. But like, you watch him, you're like, damn, watch him on film, even though he's playing against not good competition. He looks good in like the little bit of practice we saw during camp. He did not look out of place at all. But it sounds like Tristan Gebbia would have been the guy if they needed to go to a different quarterback tonight. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap the show up. Any final questions here? Yeah, a lot of people talking about running quarterbacks. Mike on YouTube. Amen on running quarterbacks. Yeah, again, I'm not saying you need a major in it. Just maybe not even minor in it. Just like dabble in it. Do it once or twice a game. I'm including – I need once a called quarterback run. Once. And then maybe once stepping up like Kyle did and getting a cheap first down. That's twice a game. I'm not asking for much. I'm not saying you got to even beat Craig Krenzel, who was Ohio State's leading rusher in the national championship game. I'm not even saying that. Once called run, once step up and run. Got to. You've got to. Yeah, I mean, now, as Ended is pointing out on YouTube, CJ Stroud didn't run. That was the biggest critique of him at Ohio State. How much of that now? And I was one of those saying that. He needs to step up and run. He finally did against Georgia. I wonder how much of that was Ryan Day like, I don't want to get this stud hurt because he's light years better than Kyle McCord. I wonder how much of that was like, I don't want to get CJ even touched. I think we probably know now. I don't know. It still doesn't excuse it. You've got to have that because especially in big games, I'm not saying you got to do it against like scrub teams, but like against good teams, you better have that threat. Because if you're a defensive coordinator and you're playing against Ohio State, what are you doing? You're like, their quarterback's no threat to run. It's got to be a little bit of a threat to run. It's there anytime they want it. All right, everybody. I appreciate you guys joining me. Late night version of What We Learned Live. Thank you to Heath Schneider, a.k.a. Heater. Thank you to Patrick Murphy. Thank you to Steve Helwagen. And thank you very much to all of you. Really appreciate you guys joining me for the show. Buckeyes win 24-10. Move to 8-0 on the season. At Rutgers next week. 6-2 Rutgers. 6-2 Rutgers. High noon. So I will see you guys after the Rutgers game next week. I'll, of course, see you on Bucknuts all week. We will be, of course, on our radio show all week, the Bucknuts Morning 5. And I'll see you guys on Monday for that. Dan Rubin will have you guys on Tuesday and Thursday. I'll be with you Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Appreciate you guys joining me. Again, thanks to all my guests, Heath Schneider, Patrick Murphy, Steve Helwagen, and thanks to all of you. Ohio State 24-10 victors over Wisconsin at Camp Randall Stadium. I am Dave Biddle. Thank you very much. Hope everyone has a great evening and a great rest of your weekend.